One quick truth. You can spend your entire life chasing the moment you finally feel happy, only to discover that every time you reach what you wanted, your mind immediately creates something else to chase. A better body. More money. More attention. A different life. A different version of you. And somehow, even after getting closer to everything you thought would make you happy, you still feel that quiet emptiness when the noise disappears. Maybe the problem isn't that your life isn't enough. Maybe you trained your mind to believe you are never enough. The Stoics understood something most people learn too late. Happiness becomes fragile when you place it outside yourself. If your peace depends on what you own, what you achieve, how people see you, or whether life follows your plans, then your happiness is always one unexpected event away from disappearing. Marcus Aurelius had power, status, responsibility, and wealth, yet his philosophy kept returning to the same battlefield, the mind itself. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we stop demanding that the world obey our desires. You cannot control everything that happens around you, but you can train yourself not to become miserable because of it. And the most important part is this: becoming happier with yourself doesn't require some massive transformation. Sometimes it begins with something incredibly small. The way you speak to yourself when you fail. Whether you can enjoy a quiet moment without needing stimulation. Whether you compare your life to someone else's. Whether you constantly chase the next achievement instead of experiencing the life already in your hands. These tiny behaviors seem insignificant, but repeated every day, they become the emotional environment you live inside. Your mind eventually lives in the atmosphere you repeatedly create for it. Think of a person carrying a heavy stone everywhere they go, then spending years searching for a better road because the journey feels painful. They change cities, careers, relationships, routines, goals, and still feel the same weight. Eventually they realize the road was never the only problem. They were carrying something they never learned to put down. Many people live exactly like this. They keep changing circumstances while carrying the same dissatisfaction, comparison, resentment, and self-rejection into every new chapter. So in this video, you're going to learn 7 small but powerful habits that help you enjoy your own life again. Not by pretending life is perfect. Not by ignoring pain. Not by depending on other people to complete you. But by changing the way you experience your own mind and your own life. Because there is a difference between being alone and being at peace with yourself. There is a difference between wanting more and believing what you have has no value. There is a difference between improving yourself and secretly hating the person you are trying to improve. The goal is not to stop growing. The goal is to stop believing you must become someone else before you are allowed to feel good about being you. Habit 1: Stop arguing with reality. One of the quietest ways to destroy your happiness is spending your days mentally fighting things that already happened. You replay the conversation. You rewrite the decision. You imagine how life would look if that person stayed, if that opportunity worked, if your past was different, if your body looked different, if your circumstances changed sooner. While your body stands in the present, your mind lives inside a reality that no longer exists. You cannot build peace in a room where your mind is constantly fighting ghosts. Stoicism is brutally practical here. Epictetus drew a line between what is in your control and what is not. The past is not waiting for your permission to become different. Other people's choices are not yours to command. Reality does not negotiate because you are unhappy with it. But your response to reality is still yours. The moment you stop demanding that reality become something it isn't, you recover the energy you were wasting fighting it. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is where resistance ends and intelligent action begins. Imagine standing on the shore after a storm, shouting at the ocean because it destroyed something you loved. The ocean does not hear your anger. The waves do not reverse because you are devastated. You can spend the night screaming at the water, or you can look at what remains, gather the pieces, and decide what can be rebuilt. Pain may be unavoidable. The endless argument with reality is often optional. So ask yourself a simple question when you feel your mind replaying the past: is this something I can change, or something I must learn to accept? If you can act, then act. If you cannot change it, stop paying emotional interest on a debt that will never be reversed. Acceptance looks at the truth without blinking, then asks what can still be done. In the next part, we'll cover the habits that destroy happiness the fastest in modern life: comparison, discomfort with your own company, and turning happiness into a future reward you keep postponing. These are small habits, but they shape everything. Habit 2. Stop measuring your life against other people. One of the fastest ways to become unhappy with yourself is to use someone else's life as the measuring stick for your own. You see their success and your progress feels small. You see their appearance and your reflection feels inadequate. You see their relationship, their money, their lifestyle, their confidence, and you turn their highlight into evidence against yourself. Comparison doesn't only show you what someone else has. It quietly teaches you to dislike what you already have. Stoicism treats this as a trap because it hands your emotional state to what you cannot control. Epictetus would bring you back to what belongs to you: your choices, your effort, your judgments, your character. Someone else's possessions do not become your deficiency simply because they possess them. Someone else's success does not make your journey a failure. A mountain does not become smaller because another mountain is taller. Your task is not to defeat every mountain you see. It is to climb the one that belongs to you. Modern comparison is faster because the arena is now in your pocket. You can compare yourself with thousands of people before breakfast. You see results without seeing the years behind them. You see the body without the habits. You see the wealth without the risks. You see the moment without the messy process. And the most destructive comparison is comparing your present with someone else's final result. You look at a person after 10 years and judge yourself in your first year. You look at someone who found their direction and shame yourself because you're still searching. Growth has rhythm. A seed does not become a tree because you become impatient with the soil. This doesn't mean you should stop admiring successful people. Admiration can become instruction. Envy can become information. If someone has a quality you respect, ask, what behavior produced it? Instead of saying, I wish I had their life, ask, what can their life teach me about the person I want to become? That shift turns comparison from poison into education. Sometimes you are not jealous of the person. You are grieving the version of yourself you thought you would be by now. That pain can be useful if you interpret it correctly. Don't use it as proof that you are worthless. Use it as a signal that something inside you still matters. So create a private scoreboard. Measure yourself against your own previous behavior. Are you more disciplined than 6 months ago? Do you recover faster from failure? Do you speak to yourself with more respect? Do you keep more promises? Do you spend attention more wisely? These measurements belong to you. Happiness with yourself doesn't come from proving you're better than everyone. It comes from no longer needing someone else's life to become smaller before you can appreciate your own. Habit 3. Learn to enjoy your own company. There is a strange emptiness many people carry that becomes visible only when the room becomes quiet. The phone stops vibrating. Notifications disappear. Nobody is asking for anything. And suddenly being alone feels uncomfortable. So they reach for something. Scroll. Message. Watch. Consume. Chase stimulation. Create noise. But if you cannot sit peacefully with yourself for a few minutes, you may not be afraid of loneliness. You may be afraid of meeting the person you've been avoiding. The Stoics treated solitude differently. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by responsibility and conflict, yet he returned inward to examine his judgments. Not to isolate, but to strengthen. A person who can enjoy his own company becomes harder to control through loneliness. Think of a deep lake. When the surface is constantly disturbed, you cannot see the depth. Silence allows you to see what's underneath, what you fear, what you desire, what you regret, what you value. Modern life makes this difficult because attention can be occupied every second. You can wake up and consume someone else's thoughts before hearing your own. When silence arrives, it can feel threatening. But discomfort with silence is not proof that silence is bad. Sometimes it's proof your mind needs it. Try this: 10 minutes a day with no phone, no music, no conversation. Sit and observe. Don't force happiness. Don't chase enlightenment. Just notice. At first you will feel restless. You will reach for your phone without thinking. That's the point. You're seeing how dependent your attention became. With repetition, silence becomes less threatening and eventually becomes one of the few places you feel free. You begin discovering that happiness doesn't always need an event. A quiet morning can be enough. Coffee while watching the world move can be enough. Walking alone can be enough. Reading can be enough. You stop demanding that every moment entertain you before you allow yourself to enjoy it. Habit 4. Stop making happiness conditional. One of the most dangerous sentences is, "I'll be happy when. When I get the money. When I lose the weight. When I find the right person. When my career works. When people respect me. When life becomes easier." It sounds harmless, but it moves happiness into a future that doesn't exist yet. It turns the present into a waiting room. Then you reach the goal, feel good briefly, and your mind creates another condition. The finish line keeps moving. Stoicism doesn't say stop improving your life. It says don't hold your peace hostage to outcomes you cannot fully control. You can pursue wealth without believing wealth will complete you. You can pursue love without believing another person must rescue you from yourself. You can chase excellence without treating your current self as worthless. Real growth sounds like, I respect myself enough to become better. Not, I must become better before I deserve respect. Tonight, notice the conditions you've placed on your happiness. Then replace one sentence. Instead of, I'll be happy when I achieve this, say, I will work toward this while learning to appreciate where I am. In the final part, we'll cover the habits that rebuild self-respect from the inside, ending the war with yourself, creating small moments of joy, and protecting your mind from what steals your peace. And at the very end, I'll give you a comment line to anchor this as a daily commitment. Habit 5. Stop being at war with yourself. There is an exhaustion sleep cannot fix because it comes from fighting yourself every day. You criticize your appearance, regret your decisions, replay your failures, question your worth, and compare your progress until your own mind becomes a place you don't want to live in. You may look calm outside while carrying a private war inside. You cannot build a peaceful life with a mind that is constantly attacking the person living inside it. Stoicism never meant self-hatred. Marcus Aurelius returned to reason and the present task, not endless self-condemnation. The Stoic approach is not, everything I do is perfect. It is, I can acknowledge mistakes without turning them into a verdict against my existence. A disciplined person corrects himself. A destructive person condemns himself. One creates growth. The other creates shame. Think of a gardener who finds one section of his garden dying. He doesn't scream that the plants are worthless. He studies the soil, checks the sunlight, examines the water, removes what is damaging the roots, and changes the conditions. Destruction does not produce growth. Your mind needs the same approach. When something isn't working, don't say, "I'm a failure." Ask, "What is causing this and what can I change?" This is where guilt and shame separate. Guilt says, "I made a bad decision." Shame says, "I am bad." Guilt can point to correction. Shame attacks identity. Don't turn one chapter into the definition of the entire book. A mistake is an event. It does not automatically become an identity, and your internal dialogue matters. Repeated thoughts strengthen familiar mental pathways. Harsh self-criticism becomes automatic. But the reverse is also possible. You can train a more accurate response. That didn't work. What did I learn? What will I do differently? That isn't fake positivity. It's disciplined thinking. Epictetus taught his students to examine judgments rather than obey them. Use that with yourself. When your mind says, "I'm not good enough," ask, "Based on what?" When it says, "Everyone is ahead," ask, "Everyone?" When it says, "I'll never change," ask, "What evidence proves that?" A thought can be loud without being true. This doesn't mean being soft. Self-respect requires honesty. If you waste time, admit it. If you avoid responsibility, admit it. If you behave badly, repair what you can. If you are addicted to comfort, confront it. But confront yourself like a wise teacher, not an executioner. A teacher says, "You are capable of better, so let's change." An executioner says, "You are worthless, so why try?" Habit 6. Create small moments of joy. Most people wait for a big reason to be happy. A major achievement. A perfect relationship. A new house. A better body. A future version of life where everything feels right. While they wait for the extraordinary, they overlook the ordinary moments that are quietly keeping them alive. A warm morning. A peaceful walk. Sunlight through a window. The feeling of finishing what you promised. A good conversation. A clean room. A meal eaten slowly. A quiet cup of tea. Your life is made of thousands of moments you barely notice. The Stoics valued the present. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly directed attention to what was in front of him. Not passive gratitude, but mental discipline. A mind that cannot appreciate a small moment will discover that even a big moment cannot satisfy it for long. So create one daily moment with no productivity requirement. Drink your tea without scrolling. Walk without checking your phone. Sit outside and feel the air. Read a few pages of something meaningful. Listen to music without multitasking. These moments are not insignificant. They retrain attention. What you repeatedly notice becomes part of the emotional landscape you live inside. Modern life turns every empty moment into consumption. Waiting becomes scrolling. Eating becomes watching. Walking becomes checking. Silence becomes notifications. Over time, simple life feels boring. But boredom is not always a problem. Sometimes it is the doorway through which sensitivity returns. Habit 7. Protect your mind from what steals your peace. You can be surrounded by everything you wanted and still feel miserable if your mind has no filter. Every opinion enters. Every criticism lives rent-free. Every comparison becomes a verdict. Every notification interrupts. Every argument replays. Every piece of bad news becomes a private disaster. Marcus Aurelius could not control rumors, politics, or the future of an empire, but he could decide what deserved his judgment. Not everything that reaches your eyes deserves to reach your heart. Imagine your mind as a house with an open door. Strangers walk in and leave fear on the table. Social media leaves comparison on the wall. News leaves anxiety beside your bed. Then you wonder why you can't feel peaceful. So build a filter. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Stop checking your phone constantly. Reduce content that reliably makes you angry or empty. Spend less time explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Give yourself periods where nobody can reach you. Before you give something your emotional energy, ask, does this deserve a place in my mind? Not every insult deserves a reaction. Not every trend deserves attention. Not every opinion deserves self-doubt. Not every problem belongs to you. Now bring it together. You learn to stop arguing with reality, stop poisoning your mind with comparison, enjoy your own company, stop postponing happiness, end the war with yourself, create small moments of joy, and protect your attention from noise. You were never missing happiness. You were often too distracted to notice it. Be happy with yourself, not because life is perfect, but because you finally understand you don't need perfection to experience peace. Comment, I enjoy my life again, if you're committing to these habits for the next 7 days.